And our legal analysis continues with Jonathan Turley, Annie McCarthy, Donna Spilbor, Mark Thiessen, and Paul Morrow, and we add John Yoo to the conversation. It's good to have you. John, I wanted you to listen to President Trump. This is right before court today, declaring his innocence.
I'm innocent. This is a political witch hunt, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. And it's, I tell you what, the appellate division on the judges should step in, because what this judge is getting away with is disgraceful, including the fact that we have thousands of people, we had 100,000 people in New Jersey. They would like to show their support.
John, is it possible that the appellate division would step in here? I mean, that seems highly unusual, but it's not totally out of the question, is it?
Dana, I think it's unlikely. I think what the court's going to do is let Judge Merchan finish out the trial, get to a verdict, and then hear all the legal issues at the same time. And part of that is because this case is so riddled with mistakes and problems that the appellate court would have to ping pong this quick case back and forth with this trial judge repeatedly if it was going to try to fix all the errors as they went on. Part of that is the trial judge's, I think, strategy here is just to steamroll through all the problems, all the ones you've been hearing about on your panel this morning with the failure to find any kind of legal crimes that had been committed, the failure to connect what happened last week with that explosive Stormy Daniels testimony with the actual charges, the problems with ambiguity of the indictment, not even telling President Trump what the real crimes are. So I think this is going to have to wait for appellate review before it could be fixed. Maybe Judge Merchan will come to his senses and acquit Trump before they even have to put on a defense.
I don't think so. I know. I just had to ask in case the president brings it up. I like to ask a smart person about it, and that would be you today.
Cohen is now describing how they communicated with each other. He says Trump never had an email address. Cohen says Trump made comments about people, quote, getting in trouble or gone down as a direct result of using emails because prosecutors could follow the paper trail. So well, that's Cohen's.
Not wrong.
As we have seen time and time again. Jonathan Turley, jump on back in here, because it seems pretty straightforward now. Like the trial's been clarified. And it's been clarified to this point. It's Cohen's word against everybody else. Do you see it that way?
Well, we've already learned a couple of things. One is that a vortex did not open up the minute Cohen took the oath and have the entire courtroom disappear into the netherworld. So we can check that off because the fact that Cohen is taking yet another oath itself was quite an attraction. And obviously he's going to get Cuisinarted on cross-examination. But it was really interesting before his testimony to watch this effort to get in the agreement of the accountant. That was such an obvious and dishonest move by the prosecutors. You have to wonder whether this judge is having second thoughts about his failure to stop this case, or at least force the prosecution to be clear about it. There's nothing stopping the prosecutor from calling that accountant. So the introduction of that agreement was clearly intended to suggest to the jury that they have some smoking gun evidence, but because of this agreement, they can't present it. That's entirely untrue. And so Merchan was right to say, I'm not going to let you do that. But it goes to how this is a Potemkin village of a case. They're proving stuff that's not in evidence while leaving suggestions of stuff that is in evidence with the jury. So the thing to keep in mind is when the prosecution wraps up its case, the defense will stand up and make a standard motion for a directed verdict to say that there's insufficient evidence to support a crime in this case. That's an extremely powerful argument because you've seen we're still debating what that crime is. Even on this network, you have people disagreeing as to what the theory of this case is, and the prosecution is about to wrap. Now, what the prosecution is worried about is that even Judge Merchan may just say, you know what, I gave you a shot and you didn't sink it, and so I'm going to direct this verdict. I'm going to issue an acquittal. The way they're going to get around that is to just get Cohen to say, this happened, that he intentionally wanted me to put down, or wanted this to be a legal expense. He intentionally was committing fraud. He was trying to conceal campaign violations. Even though very few people on earth would believe Michael Cohen, the prosecutors will then argue to the judge, That is a credibility question, Judge, and you need to let this go to the jury. Whether you believe him or not, that is a fact question for the jury. That is their entire strategy. And so as unbelievable as Cohen may be, I don't think the prosecutors think he will be believable. They just want him to check a box.
Wow. So you're just a quick follow on that. You're arguing that the judge is having second thoughts about previous decisions that have been made in this case. And I would just add to that, Jonathan, it came from the bench on Friday afternoon when the judge told the state to tell Michael Cohen to stop talking. And that was after all the TikToks came out, all the tweets, et cetera, et cetera. And you're making a case now that the judge thinks they may have gone too far?
No, I'm not saying that the judge is having second thoughts. He might be. I can't imagine that any competent lawyer at this point would not be embarrassed by what has happened in this courtroom. This is an utter disgrace that this case has gotten this far. And I would hope that he would have second thoughts. But keep in mind, when he told the prosecutors, can you tell Michael Cohen to cut it out, stop the antics? I got to tell you, I was not one of those complimenting the judge. Why wouldn't you do that at the beginning of the trial? You were doing that the weekend before he testified. This guy has been out there with a three-ring circus going on, and you haven't said a thing. And then suddenly said, it'd be nice if we can go through the weekend without him trolling for dollars on TikTok.
So I want to call for this other soundbite from President Trump, and control room is like call for number 2 on that sheet, where he talks about something Jonathan just said, and get Andy's take on this. Watch here. We have that? Okay, they're working on getting it. So I'll set it up beforehand, which is basically that he talks about the innocence, the rule of law, et cetera. But the other thing is, Andy, that the prosecution said something last week that was kind of music to my ears, frankly, which is that they think that their case, that they might be able to rest their case this week. Okay, then we could all move on and see what's going to happen next. But here's what President Trump said about declaring his innocence and that this is a sham trial. Watch.
This trial is rigged. It's dishonest. It's a disgrace to New York. It's a disgrace to the country. I should be out campaigning now instead of sitting in a very cold courthouse all day long. This is a Biden prosecution. It's election interference at a level that nobody in this country has ever seen before. This is for third world countries, not for the USA.
Andy, your thoughts in terms of the integrity of the prosecution's office, like in question, certainly. I mean, I was even just reading a headline in Newsweek saying that Alvin Bragg has not even come close to proving what he alleged.
Well, that's part of why he wasn't clear about alleging it, Dana. You know, what's insidious about this is I want people to understand Bragg is a very smart guy. He is not incompetent. It's not that he doesn't know what he was doing. He was a top prosecutor for New York State. He was a prosecutor in my old office, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. He knows the stuff he's doing here is improper. This is a completely political case. And he hit the jackpot with Judge Merchan. I would like to believe, as Jonathan was suggesting, that maybe he's having second thoughts. But every time I start to give into that idea, a little birdie on my shoulder says, if his daughter is making tons of money as a progressive activist who does campaign work for top Democrats who define themselves by their loathing of Donald Trump, does he want to be the judge who throws out the case against Trump? I just don't see it.
Okay, guys, stand by, guys and gals. Yeah. Stand by. We're going to go on hold for a moment.
We're getting more. One of the things that we just was Michael Cohen said that his time working for President Trump and the Trump organization was fantastic. And that's just consistent with everyone who has testified so far that ever worked there. They seem to have really enjoyed the experience, and then things went south indeed. Okay, so we have more coming up. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.